And other than that, welcome to HSL Simulation Webcast. Good morning, Alyssa.
Good morning, Shane. Thank you for giving us a little synopsis there. But yes, if everyone could just make sure they're muted because we will have a chance to unmute later. And if videos are on, if we can have those off for the time being, again, we can go through that and open up for more of an open discussion in the forum or the client's corner, as we call it. So welcome to the HSL simulation webcast. If you're new here, Shane and I have been doing some webcasts over the last, I guess, has it been, what, about 6 months now, Shane? It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
We kind of baptized it the HSL simulation webcast a little later after we started, but we wanted to essentially bring some topics to the table that can help everybody grow in their simulation teams and give some tips and tricks, but also hear from you guys and from everyone in this world, and if you have anything to share. So we kind of wanted to create a platform to best present that and also have an engaging way to kind of network with everybody across Canada. So today we have people all the way from Vancouver or BC all the way to Newfoundland. So we've got a few time zones. So thank you all for being here. And today what we're going to be talking about is basic scenario design utilizing theme editor and SimDesigner. So Shane, I know this has been a highly requested topic. So Shane will be walking us through all of that, but let's just quickly jump into the agenda. So again, we're going to look at basic scenario design first for theme editor. So that's going to be with Shane. And then I will walk you through some of the new products that have launched that are really, really interesting and probably going to change the way we do a lot of our training. So we're going to do that in the coffee break. So don't worry if you feel like you have to go up and get a coffee, use the washroom, whatever it may be. We will be just showing some brief videos on some of our newest applications, such as Anywhere and Team Reporter. And then we'll be back again for more scenario design with SimDesigner. And then we'll close off with a client's corner. So this is where we like everybody to be engaged. But then again, if you have questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat box and I can kind of voice them out to Shane while he's doing his presentation. So I guess, Shane, did we want to run a poll or
Absolutely.
did we kind of want to ask the crowd? Okay.
Yes, yeah. So I have a poll for everybody just to kind of get an idea of where we can judge a little bit of time.
Yeah.
As well, just as a disclaimer, we are recording the session for your future use in your virtual toolbox. So please, if you don't want to be seen, if you don't want to be heard, feel free to stay silent. But at the same time, this is a very engaging session. So please, if you have a question, more than likely somewhere that someone might watch this video later might have that same question. So please, let's do. And then if we start running out of time, because there's a lot of questions, what we can do then is we can do a post-session video where we cover those questions as well. So that's what we can do there. So here, I'm going to launch a poll now. So let's find out, what are you simulating with? Are you using a SimPad, or are you using Leap on a computer, or are you using a bit of both? And this will just judge where we should kind of aim our time a little bit more. If we get any kind of like great changes or results. But I'm seeing everybody is just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's really even. That's funny. But good. Awesome. Good to see that a lot of people even use both.
And thanks for voting Monday morning.
Yeah.
The clicker button's working. Hey, we're positive up this morning already. Here we go. All right. So that's 75% of us have voted, and we're seeing that there's a little bit more on the SimPad side. But the cool part is there's a lot in the both. So that's interesting. So okay, cool. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, and share results. You guys seen that the whole time. And there we go. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Basic scenario design using theme editor. So theme editor, here's the trick with theme editor. So you got a SimPad. So that's this little guy right here. You got one of these things. And if you ever want to know what the difference between a classic and a plus is, the immediate thing to do is look at the button, the magical button. So if that button is yellow, you have a SimPad Classic. If it's blue, then you have a SimPad Plus. There's a huge promotion right now. Alyssa, you want to talk to them just a quick, just down dirty, that if you have a bunch of these?
Yeah. So essentially, if you have those sim pads with the yellow button, meaning the classics, we are offering a promotion right now that with their serial numbers, if you have them, we usually have them on our files as well. But if you do have some SimPad classics, we could create a quote for you for some SimPad Plus systems, and those will be at 30% off. But usually what Laerdal does is sort of a trade-in program, but this time you get to keep that SimPad Classic. So not only do you get SimPad Plus for 30% off, you also get to keep your SimPad Classic. So it just adds some resources to your I guess fleet, but you can also keep it, which is nice, and you also get the advantage of trading up for the new one. So if you have questions about that, we'd be happy to answer them at the end, but you can also talk to your local reps. They'd be happy to create a quote for you. And if I'm your local rep and Shane is, well, let us know and we'd be happy to help.
Excellent.
So, yeah, go
I
ahead, Shane.
see Joanne in the chat. And we're freezing a little bit. We're also recording, so maybe if you're not hardwired into a internet connection and you're at a hospital or something, I know that the Wi-Fi it really sucks. So if you can plug into something, so hopefully that will help a little tiny bit. I think everything's coming through on this end. But with that, there is a little bit of a disclaimer. So we like to say, hey, we work for Laerdal. We are Laerdal. Like, we're the representatives in Atlantic and Quebec. Just bear in mind that it's going to be Laerdal focused. And if we have any questions about any other simulation and we don't provide a solution, we'd be happy to share what we've seen out in the field later in Client's Corner. So that's our little bit of a little disclaimer. So I'm going to start to share my screen. Is that okay with you, Alyssa?
Perfect. Let me know. I'll just stop sharing and you have the floor.
Share that one. I'll share my sound. Share. All right, here we go. So theme editor it's launched from a website. So you can do this either online, which is really good for those people that are working in a hospital and you don't have the ability to install a program. You can still run this program from Internet Explorer. So if you see Internet Explorer on the bottom of my page, which you don't know, but
we don't.
If you make sure that you're using your Internet Explorer, not Firefox, not Chrome, this will only work in Internet Explorer. So a lot of the times I have a lot of people having problems with launching this because it doesn't work in Chrome. But the cool thing is if you have administrative rights or if you have the ability to save it on the computer, you can also do that. So if you right click anywhere on your gray screen, you'll get this silver light and then you'll get install on this computer. Mine says remove because I already have it installed on this computer, so I don't have to worry about that. But yours will actually say install on this computer. So there we go. There's the web address, laerdal.com/theme editor /. So that's it here. Again, the session is being recorded. We can also copy this and put it right into our chat box so that it's there for you as well. So here we are. We're going to go new theme. This is open theme as if you've already started a project and you wanted to continue it. But right now we're going to go new theme. We're going to call this, anybody have any suggestions? But if we don't get any suggestions right off the bat, I'll just do a simple COVID, maybe a airway situation to keep it relevant. But I'd be also, if anybody wants something different, please drop it in the chat box and I can show you a couple different things, especially if it's something particular to cardiology, like I want to be able to shock and then after that shock go to another shock. So that's something there. So then we're going to select our simulator. I'm going to select airway let's go with, well, let's just go with nursing and simulator. I'm hovering over there. There we go. So you're going to get a box that looks like this. All right, so over here we have state names, and then we have what the state is. So these will be the vitals inside that state. We can then also change heart, lungs, and miscellaneous while in this state. And that's going to make more sense because as I add a new state and a new state, these boxes will all change as per the state that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a
Shane,
guide. Hi.
Yeah, could you quickly explain to us what's the difference between a state and a theme?
So that's a fabulous question. So this is a theme editor. So when we're making SimPad scenarios, the whole thing is called a theme. That's a fantastic question because the vernacular is so, it's very Laerdal. Don't get me wrong. This is the vernacular that we use because I would imagine that as the Norwegian language transfer over to English and then transfers over to the simulation world, we're probably lost in some kind of never-ending word complex. So, so if you can match the word theme with scenario, but at the same time, don't call it a scenario because a scenario is what LEAP uses.
Exactly. So it gets complicated.
See how it goes? So theme equals scenario when you're using a SimPad. And then inside of a theme, you'll have different levels of states. And that's how you will cycle along by just a click of a button, and then your automatic scenario will happen. And this is really fundamental, especially when it comes to group A students, group B students, and you want them to have the same outcomes if it performed the same therapies. So it's really good for that that circle of learning and coming back and everybody having the same exposure to the same learning outcomes. It's really nice that way. So state name, that's cool. Did we get that one?
Yeah, no, that was just a question I was asking because I know I've been asked before and I figured maybe there might be someone in the audience who would like to know if they're new to theme editor.
Absolutely, good one. So the first thing I like to do is my state name right here. I like to change that to initial state. And the reason I like to do that is because that's the first state that's going to come on the simulator when I load this scenario. So in this scenario, I can say that the patient is a little bit tacky. All right, but they are in a sinus rhythm. If I wanted to change the rhythm, I can see there's a drop-down menu here for a lot of rhythms. However, the better way to look at that is through the, there we go. In the actual heart, here we go. Should be able to get, no, it's leading back to the same menu. Okay, so I don't need I just need a sinus tach really, there we go. We can break down their SpO2. Now you remember that some of your mannequins will actually have a cyanosis. So knowing that threshold of when that cyanosis cuts in is pretty valid and very important because how blue do you want them to look at this point if you want them to look blue? So let's say the stats are 82. Respiration's a little bit of tachypnea. Tachypnea, let's maybe a little bit more than that. There we go. That's probably, actually, it would probably be a little bit higher than this, sorry. So, but you can see how easy it is to change these with the drop down. You hit the menus. I don't want to play with that. Let's say this is not part of the learning. And blood pressure, let's give them a normal, but on the low side.
So Shane, we do have another question. So the first one from Sahar is, does this work on iMac?
No, you need to open up an Internet Explorer, so it has to be on a PC.
Okay.
Good
and
question.
The following question from,
don't hate me for that
this
one.
is the Halifax team. What about a theme versus a LEAP scenario? So you were just saying a theme is a scenario when we're in SimPad. And a LEAP scenario is, I guess, if you wanted to reiterate that again.
Yeah, so it's all about the way that the file name is ending. So a scenario might be an SXC, a theme would be a THM. So it's the way that the file is saved and then has the extension. However, when we get over to SimDesigner after the break, I will show you how you can bring a theme over into SimDesigner and then transfer it over to be applicable to your Leap software. Sometimes we'll do a conversion. It will do a conversion for you. So we can look at that just when we get into Leap as well. That's a great question. Yes, it's if the theme you're making is for your SimPad, then I would make a theme. If your scenario is for your Leap, then I would make it in SimDesigner, which is a great question. And the way we should probably launch this is where do you use which? So theme editor is just for your SimPads. However, you can bring that theme over into SimDesigner, and we'll show you that in a couple minutes.
Perfect.
Cool. Great question. Is there any more there?
Not as of right now, but I'll keep you posted.
All right, so we have this basic scenario set up. We don't have to worry about transitions time as this is our initial state. So now we can go into state number 1. I'm going to name that. And let's just call this maybe patient worsens or patient deterioration. How about just deteriorate? EET.
That's the Newfie way of pronouncing it, I assume.
Yeah, I guess so. So the patient deteriorates. Let's say the heart rate goes up a little bit. All right, cool. So the heart rate goes up a little bit. I'm going to have the SATs drop down. Maybe they're not identifying the urgency of the emergency. I can bring the respiration rate up a little tiny bit. Blood pressure, you know what? Blood pressure is going to remain the same. So if you want it to remain the same from that state, just don't put anything here, and then you'll be fine. All right, cool. So patient deteriorates, and I want this transition time to happen over, say, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So soon as I hit patient deteriorates and hits activate, it will take 2 minutes and 10 seconds to get to these vital signs. So that's how I'm changing my vital signs. The other thing that I can do here is in the initial state, I didn't change any lung sounds or anything. So if I wanted to have the lung sounds seem a little bit different now as the patient deteriorates, I can go into lung sounds, and you can see this is all Nursing and Simulator's lung sounds. So we can turn up the volume, especially if you wanted. This would be a good reason, like if you wanted to change the volumes as if there was like a silent chest, like an exacerbation COPD or something like that. But this is where we can change some of the lungs to be a little quieter, a little louder. And then we can just say, okay, well, I want some crackles. Actually, I want maybe some wheezes up here. Throw in a little bit more wheezes. You know what? In the posterior, I can throw a little sound of stridor back there. Maybe I'll make that a little quieter. So you can really, really tweak the way that you want your lung fields to sound. Let's say with some wheezes, and then down to here, we'll get some real coarse crackles going. And coarse crackles, maybe it's a little bit in the front. Let's throw it up a little tiny bit more to make it a little bit more obvious there in the front. And then throw some fine crackles over here. So you can see you can really, really fine tune your lung fields inside of this. So instead of you being with the SimPad doing this, trying to change them all, we can now do that with click on the state you want and hit activate. So that's what just happened there. All right, and then it takes 2 minutes and 10 seconds. However, the lung sounds will kick in right away, but that might be exactly what you want to happen. We can also have another one here, say patient improve. So maybe they are doing something cool, and maybe they are doing something right. Well, hopefully they are. Let's just say the heart rate doesn't change much, might come down a couple shades or whatever. I mean, some of the therapies that we're probably giving as adjuncts here are probably make some of this stuff go up anyway. Let's say the patient improves to 91. The respirations then, she starts to become less anxious, or he, and let's say they gave the person some fluid or something. There we go. So make the patient just get a little bit better, and so the patient improves. Now, if you go from patient deterioration back to this one, we can see we change all the lung sounds. If you have going to patient improve, what you might want to do here, oh, not the SpO2, sorry. Patient improved lung sounds. So here we can actually set a whole new separate kind of lung for that patient that's improving. And so we've already seen how to change all this, so I'll skip that concept for you. The other thing that you might want to throw in here too is what happens if, it depends on your learning objectives. So I've heard in best practices that learning objectives should be kept to 3 to 5, no more than 5. 3 is a nice fair number, and keeping those learning objectives to that will help achieve those outcomes faster, therefore simulating less is kind of the concept of that. Has anybody really experienced success with large amounts of learning objectives in a scenario, and how do you achieve more than 5? Please leave it in the chat box. Let us know how you're doing it, because again, these sessions are all about sharing. How are we doing, Alyssa?
So far, so good. I don't have any other questions, but yeah, no, you're adding a code blue. So if it all kind of goes wrong, I guess.
Yeah, so let's say everything goes wrong, or let's just say, you know what, this is a COVID situation. We want to see about preparedness in the beginning, and then we're going to turn this right into code blue. So if it's a code blue, let's just say the patient goes into VFib. So as soon as I find my VFib, okay, that's it. We're changing glasses here. We're getting serious. All right.
Bringing out the heavy duty ones.
Oh, it's right there.
I think you were on it at the beginning. Yeah. I was like, why isn't he clicking on it? But
I can now change the amplitude of this VFib. So there we go. We can throw in a little bit of amplitude. I don't have to put anything else in, because the cool thing about the Laerdal, where we've based, where we've come from as a company and our mission, VF is one of those rhythms that we recognize as a lethal arrhythmia, and we have to recognize it. And so the mannequin will actually automatically respond by closing the eyes, if that's applicable to your simulator. It will decrease the SpO2, it will stop the pulses, it will stop the breathing, it will make the blood pressure 0 on 0, and that's how that, it will automatically do that. So I don't really have to put anything else here. That's the cool part. And we don't want a transition time, we just want it to happen just like that. So that's how I can easily make a code blue into this scenario. Now, let's say if we wanted to have, after a code blue, we wanted to have a ROSC.
Actually, funny you mentioned that, because we have a question about this. So I don't know if this is where you're going, Shane, but Sahar is asking, how can you program the number of shocks they give before ROSC?
Awesome, awesome. So back here in my code blue, we can see there's a shock activation right here. So in my ROSC, I can say, okay, shock activation turned on. So what that means is after one shock, the ROSC will take place. If you don't want that and you want multiple shocks, what you can do is, especially when it comes to ACLS training, from code blue, you could have this one as your PEA, because I know a lot of the times that in our ACLS courses, we go from a VFib or a VTAC without a pulse into a VFib, and then we want to see an asystole with no activity or whatever, but then we want to then transition into a ROSC. So this would be a good idea that, you know, this could be your code blue. This also could be your VTAC with a pulse, but yet you're going into synchronized cardioversion. So it totally depends on how you're building your scenario. So from code blue, let's just say we want to go into a PEA with an asystole rhythm, so that it's not shockable. And then our last one then could be ROSC. And then that wouldn't be shock activated, because we want from code blue, once they shock that VFib, to go to asystole. Then we want good performance, high performance CPR, and then getting into your ROSC at this point. So there'll be no shock between this. This would be just the 2-minute CPR, and we just have to hit ROSC activate, and then it would activate, and then whatever you want your ROSC to look like. So if you wanted to have heart rate of 75. There's going to be a whole bunch of extra systoles thrown in here. Cool. We can make that. We can actually make that frequent, so that it just looks like a ROSC rhythm. We can have that. We can have mediocre. Mediocre sats. We can have maybe a little bit of a higher. This is where definitely with ROS, because they're going to be using their end tidal CO2, hopefully, and starting to get these really nice ROS numbers that we look for. And then we can also have a mediocre blood pressure. So that we can start to see some of their treatments and their therapies for that blood pressure as well. So again, depending on your objectives. I just seen a couple things come up in the chat boxes. Oh, I don't have.
So Karen was just saying, Karen Furlong, sorry, she was just saying great session. I have to leave to attend another meeting. So thank you for being here, Karen. Thanks for always coming. But we'll be sending out that recording, so not a problem. And if anyone else is in the same boat and you have something else to attend to, let us know, or don't. We'll send you the recording either way.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, we find sometimes our sessions can go a little bit longer, and we stick around extended time after client's corner. So we're definitely going to start to look at how we can bookmark the video so that you can actually hyperlink right into the part of the video that you're looking for. So rather than hearing all these ramblings on. Excellent. Anybody on their second cup of coffee yet?
Yeah. I'm on my first cup of tea, so I'm trying tea this week.
Nice. So throughout this, we're going to be looking for different ways. Oh, I just seen someone pop up there.
Oh, Sherry Pritchett Kelly says me. And Sandy says no, but I need a whole pot.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to have like a virtual coffee thing here so I can just fill it up as we go. Cool. So here we have, so I know that we changed some of the lung sounds under the heart. Here's where you'll also get your sounds of blood pressure. So you can turn up your sounds of blood pressure, especially for, you know, the learners that are having a hard time with the blood pressures. Jack that volume up high, get their confidence up, and then start to lower it down to kind of what you would expect in this patient. So there you can see how you can do that there. You can also change the temperature here. So this is really vital as well, because in simulation, it's hard to get a thermometer into the simulator to actually read a temperature. I've heard people using tricks like just taping on a number on the thermometer so that if the student picks it up, they can see it. The other way is you can display it on your patient monitor. So we can show that there as well. Miscellaneous as well as you got bowel sounds, vocal sounds, eyes, and all normal. So again, if your simulator has eyes, you can change the eyelid status. So if I wanted in ROS to only have them half open, infrequently blink, I can start to throw those kind of values in here so that you can have your ROS looking exactly the way that you want it to look. For those people on SimPad that doesn't have eyes, some people have just pulled them open a little bit. And sometimes it requires a confederate to go into the room while you're simulating to do that. So that might be some ideas there. But this is for the Nursing simulator, so that's why we're getting the eyes coming up there. Excellent. So and then vocal sounds. These are the ones that you have automatically programmed into the scenario. So this might be a little bit of moaning, and you might have that frequently or infrequently with this kind of patient. But also remember that you can also have a headset so that you can actually make sounds through your headset that's plugged into your SimPad. And you can also pre-record. So you can actually pre-record and throw those sounds into your session. Now on the pre-record, what it is my window's right there. So you can see right here, it says click to add sound. So if all the videos are in your way, you might just need to move them around a little tiny bit, but click to add sound. That's gonna look for a very unique type of sound file. That's gonna look for a .raw. Now, to make that sound file, you can either download it from our website, and it's just called Audio Recorder, Those people with Leap, you already have it. So Alyssa, I'm gonna have to stop share. I'm gonna have to reshare, I do believe is meeting controls, stop share. I'm gonna share my desktop so that you can see everything that I'm clicking on here. Screen 1, screen 2, screen 1, share. So on my Leap right here, you have sound recorder right there. So the website, and we can post that in the chat as well, send it in the information for these videos. You can see here for the SimPad, it's looking for WAV, WMA, or RAW. This is the one I use the most because this really compresses your sound file, but it's a very fast, accessible sound, so that as soon as you hit play, it comes right out of the mannequin, so that you can be very prompt too with the yes and no questions. You can also record on this program as well. So you can actually see here, I can click on here, I can record, blah, 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 and hit save. The thing is I might want to blah, blah, dot, what was that magical extension? R-A-W. Yeah. You got her, Alyssa. Alyssa's on the ball. And then I just hit save. And then I'll just save it somewhere on my computer and it's all good. And then we can then drag and drop into our sounds right here. So we can just click to add sound, and then we go to wherever we save that sound file and pull it into the scenario. So that sound file will go wherever the scenario goes. Or sorry, theme, wherever this theme goes. So how do we track some of our learning objectives? And I know I'm running a little bit over on theme editor here a little bit, but just quickly how to capture our objectives or have that clickable, yes, the student did this, 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 this. The other cool thing is this down here. This says favorite name. I always like taking this out because this is where I really like to, especially for programs, Nicole, where you're online here, especially where programs are trying to cross-reference their NOCPs for the paramedicine students. Your simulation, you'll have this matrix where you can actually put in, you know, main objectives. So main, or maybe even better, the way that I like to call it, critical objectives. They might actually sign off more learning in your scenario, which is always a bonus. But for example, my critical objective for this month might be recognize breathing emergency. Merge. Recognize breathing emergency, you know, provide treatments for shortness of breath, or monitor or code blue performance, team communication. So we can have all them in the critical objectives, so that it constantly reminds us of you know, what we're here to do. As well, you can also then put in 1.1.b.c if you're trying to reference it. It's really good for those accreditation people if they can look at your scenario and say, yep, here's 1B, 1C, and it checks it all off. So that's kind of a bonus there. So so that's how you do that. Now, what about those clickable things as you go? So here we can have a one that's called airway. So we can have airway, or we can have, even sometimes better, we can have airway breathing. Perfect. So, and that doesn't look very good. So I'm all about how it looks. There we go.
No, you forgot.
I don't even like that. I'm going to go so A/B. Perfect. The other cool thing that we can do here is actually we can actually put a picture, so you can actually put A/B. So then it's bigger. It's a nice little picture, and it looks pretty on the SimPad. So that's cool. So the other cool thing is then if there's an A/B, there must be a C/D. And here might be this might be the, you know, let's say our learning objectives is how to respond in a COVID scenario. So we can have our you know, PPE category right here. And so these are going to be the clickable things that is going to be on that gloved hand that's on your SimPad. So I'm just going to actually start a scenario on this one. All right, and then we have that, and then we click to add event. So under PPE, you might want to have, you know, gloves, mask, shield, gown. So you can actually have these as all clickable formats. Again, these will change as you go through your categories. Sorry if I'm clicking fast here. So there's, you can see I don't have anything there, but there's my PPE. I can have, I think this could be check, airway, patency, breathing, and you can see how we can actually manipulate that. So what's going to happen here is that as you're going through your scenario, click on airway, you click on check airway patency, and then it will actually go down in your session log and it will actually timestamp it. Timestamp it right there, so that when you go into your debriefing, you can actually say, well, you know what, the patient maybe deteriorated a little bit too much because we didn't do, we need to spend more time on airway, or we needed to spend more time on the therapy of breathing. Mm-hmm. All right, so then once we have all that done, we would want to save the scenario. So I have to stop my share again because I can't see the button. Stop. And then I want to reshare. I'm just going to go into here. There we go. I still can't see it. My toolbar is in the way.
What is it that you're looking for?
Looking for the save button. That's down.
Well, I don't think
right there.
either.
Okay. So
oh, there we go. Yeah. Save theme.
It was an old edition. I used to have a save button down here. So save theme. So we can just hit the save theme. And then we want to save the theme. I'll just save it on my desktop. And I'm going to call this HSL webcast. And then we'll just save it as a theme. So save. All right. So now if I go back out to my desktop, are you seeing my desktop? No, you're still on theme editor.
Yeah, we're still on theme editor.
Okay. So I'm just going to tell you that the scenario saved as a .thm. So THM, and that's what your SimPad is going to be looking for. To get it onto your SimPad, you're going to want to have your SimPad with you, and you can see my screen down here. I'm going to stop the share again and go back to sharing my desktop. So what you're going to want to do at this point is you're going to have your SimPad, and then you're going to have your USB to HD cable. So it's USB, and then the HD cable looks like one of those Samsung, kind of Samsung chargers, but they're called micro SD. And so it's micro SD to USB, and every SimPad came with one. But it seems like we have to go on a hunt for them every single time. These are available at the dollar store. So you just need a micro SD to USB and you'll be good. You plug that into the computer that you designed this scenario on, you plug it in to the computer, and you can see on my computer pops up the SimPad itself. You see SimPad right here. And then I want to take that HSL and just drop it into themes. And now it is right there. So now when I turn on my SimPad, I would then just disconnect the SimPad now. So I can safely eject. Oop. There it is. Actually, I'll just go over here. SimPad, I can eject. Safe to remove, good. And then when I'm over here on selecting my scenarios, just waiting for this just to load up. Come on, there it goes. So I'm just going into manual mode here now. Mine's a classic, so it's a little bit slower than the plus, but that's okay. Why didn't that? Oh, never mind. Sorry. All right. So while I get this loaded up, Alyssa, do you want to take us to our break and show a couple little videos there?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
All righty.
So I'll just take over the share from you, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And perfect. All right. So while that's loading for Shane, if you wanted to grab a coffee or take a little break, that's fine. But on the meantime, if you do want to stay, we have this great video to show. So we just came out with an application called Team Reporter, so a mobile application. And this is for ACLS training, so for high performance CPR training. And I guess I'll let the video talk for itself, but if you do have questions after the fact, let us know. And then we can also go into Anywhere, which will be very interesting. So I'll go ahead and play this, but feel free to grab a coffee.
Shock delivered.
So that's a little bit about the CPR, the Team Reporter app. So it is fairly new. I believe it just got launched maybe a few weeks ago, just like the Anywhere. And again, we had the CPR training application, so for the little lands and things like that, but we were waiting for one to come out for the more higher fidelity, like the Resusci-N. So for high performance training. And then this one is a new application as well, great for virtual training. So a lot of CPR instructors, or even if you're just trying to do some BLS skills at home, this is a great virtual tool, and also was launched this year just based on the fact that everything went remote once COVID hit, and it's just a great additional resource to add to our, I guess, application platform. So I'll let this play as well. It's a little bit of a longer video, but it has some explanations. So again, if you have questions, please let us know.
We're all going through challenging times with the heavy impact that COVID-19 had on our lives. Besides the direct implications of the pandemic, organizations have mostly postponed the training of life-saving skills, which reduces the chances of surviving an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, especially with social distancing measures in place. Anywhere allows instructors to continue teaching resuscitation skills to communities anytime, anywhere, while students can join from the safety of their homes. Our course delivery solution allows instructors to train classes not only in an entirely virtual session, but also in traditional, safe classroom settings. It can even be scaled up for mass CPR events, where hundreds of learners can train simultaneously using any type of mannequin available. Conducting a training session is easy. Instructors create a class via Anywhere platform, and learners simply enter their classroom code into the QCPR Classroom app on their smartphones. Then instructors have the freedom to train their learners in various resuscitation skills according to the learning objectives. Our QCPR feedback allows instructors to observe their learners' live performance, regardless of location or equipment. It shows in real time which skill individual learners are struggling with the most, enabling instructors to provide personal improvement tips by continuously evaluated objective feedback. On top of that, learners can also follow their individual performance via their phones and improve their life-saving skills. We strive to be compatible with any mannequin, or basically anything you can compress on. The highest fidelity feedback can be achieved with our little QCPR mannequins, from compression feedback to leaning and ventilation. Mannequins such as Mini Anne, or even a homemade DIY mannequin substitute, will provide rate feedback and can be used for learners' training and assessment. Having completed the course, instructors will be able to evaluate the performance of the students and their own progress via a dashboard to continuously improve their courses, to empower lifesavers anywhere.
Perfect. I'll just go forward here. I think you're muted, Shane.
I am muted. Super cool, Alyssa.
Yeah, super cool. So those are just a few of the newest Laerdal launches, and we had a lot of buzz around it and people being interested, so we figured we'd show you guys, and if you have any opinions or any questions, let us know. We can always talk more about it in the Clients Corner, but hopefully you're back from getting your coffee. We're ready to jump into basic scenario design, but this time for SimDesigner, so Leap.
Yeah, just 1 second though, Alyssa. We got to
yeah.
go back. I just, I remembered a very vital thing, and I actually made the mistake myself. So if we actually go back, just go back a slide here. We're back to the theme editor.
Yeah,
I'm going to share my screen again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to share my screen and show you that theme editor. So again, this is a mistake that I just made, and I want to be able to help people. And this is where it gets a little tiny bit confusing. Remember up here, we called it COVID Airway. Whatever we call it up here, we should save the theme as well. Because if we save the theme as HSL Webcast, when we go to select it on our SimPad, it's not coming up as HSL Webcast. It's actually coming up as this theme name right here. Mm-hmm. So that, remember, as you save the file, you should have it as the same descriptor as your theme. Because now if I look at my SimPad, and let's see if I can do this, stop share, and I'm gonna actually bring up my SimPad that I've loaded that scenario onto. I'll share that here. There we go. So this is what your SimPad looks like. Mm-hmm. And so when I go to manual mode, you'll see that it's coming up as the theme name, right, not as what it was saved as. So just remember, to make things easier, save your theme in the same name as what your theme is.
Your theme, yeah.
Theme to theme. So just a quick, let's just take a look and see what we did. Yeah. So here we go. We see that we built this kind of scenario. Mm-hmm. And again, my initial state, I can start my scenario. This is the way that they walk in and see the patient. So I can hit activate, and then I can actually hit activate on the patient deteriorating. When I hit activate, the cool thing happens is it gives you all the information of what's going on with your patient. As well, you can see these are where the numbers are going, and this is like the days of our lives, the sand of the hourglass. And so as these move along, these numbers are changing as per our situation. But remember, we also built in our events, so we can click on our hand, and here's where those things are coming into place, where you can actually check off that they've done it. Oh yeah, you know what, they're talking good. Here we go. We'll click on that, and you can see these are all being time-stamped down here in my session recorder, so that when I go to debrief, these are all going to be time-stamped and they're going to be in place. The cool part about SimPad as well is that when you've built this theme, you can still edit, you can change things, you can have this auscultation focus, which is a really cool feature. A lot of people don't know what this is for, but let's say if someone is listening with a stethoscope and they're saying, oh, all I'm hearing is compressor, all I'm hearing is squeaky noise, or all I'm hearing is a clunking. What you can actually do is activate the auscultation focus, and it will give you 30 seconds of no movement of breathing, but just the speakers. So that will allow that lung sound that you want to come through clear. So that's what that's for. Excellent.
Perfect.
How's that?
Thanks, Dave. That was great. I'm happy you went back and showed us the scenario on the SimPad.
All right.
Full loop. So,
Full
did
loop.
you want me to share our screen again, or did you want to go into SimDesigner?
Yeah, I think we're going to go right into SimDesigner. So again, so that was theme editor. Remember, this is just the basics of. So in Client's Corner, we can talk about some of the more delicate or more strategic ways of simulating. But this is just the basic. This covers it all. Again, I can only do so much because this is a billable service that Laerdal does provide. Educational services are available where we come to you, we do it virtually, and you can book 8 hours and do 4 2-hour sessions over a period of time. So just remember, we're here for you. And you know, if it's something 15, 30 minutes that we can quickly show you, drop us a line. We're more than happy to help, especially in these circumstances where we can't come out and see you all the time. So let's go into some sharing of the screens again. So I'm sharing my desktop, and so I'm actually going to close out of this, and I'm going to close out of that, and close out of this. So here we go. So Leap. So right here we have SimDesigner. It's hanging out right here in our Leap landing page. You can also see I'm signed into Scenario Cloud, which I can access my scenarios here. However, if I wanted to build my own scenario, I want to go here. If you're on your home PC and you want to download SimDesigner, quite easily done. We're going to go to...
I put the link in the chat box, so for anyone who needs it, you can click that. Should take you right to the page. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. So this software is free of charge. There's no cost to it, so you can design at home. The other cool thing is that Leap also has Leap Lite, which is free download, free use. It won't connect to a patient monitor. It won't connect to a simulator, but you can design using SimDesigner and test it in your Leap software to make sure that everything is looking the way that you want it to look and the buttons are working appropriately. Excellent. So SimDesigner. So there's SimDesigner right there. The latest version is 7.1.0. And I'm going to open that up and see what this looks like. Excellent. So here you can see you can actually create a theme inside SimDesigner. So there's theme. We can open up a scenario that we've already built or open up a theme that we've already created. So we can open up the theme here, and this goes back to, we had a question earlier about bringing a theme into Leap and then running it on Leap. So we can actually bring the theme in, and it will actually be up in our programming window that you see. Let me share this with you right here. So this is where your theme would appear while using Leap, so that you can see this looks like a little mini SimPad.
Yeah, a little mini SimPad.
That's how, if your mannequin only connects via Leap software, that you can bring in the SimPad theme into your Leap. So that's, again, it's kind of more than an advanced use, because but if that is applicable to your situation, please put it in the notes, or we can book a 1-hour session on just how to do that. So that you can make sure that your same scenario comes over to your Leap platform as well. All right, so back into SimDesigner. So we have create a scenario, create a theme. So we want to create a scenario. So if we're going to be using Leap and it's SimMan Family, SimMan 3G, we want to use create a scenario. Or if you're using SimMom and using the Leap platform, we want to create a scenario. So here we have general, scenario name. We can still have our COVID airway Scenario, let's say it's a SimMan 3G. Actually, just for simplicity, because we use nursing and simulator, let's use her again on LEAP. So let's say we have a patient monitor, check, yes. SPO2 probe, check, yes. Sono Sim Simulator, no, we don't have that, so we'll just leave that out. Perfect. And hit OK. This is what SimDesigner looks like. This is the way that the initial state will come in. This will be coming in as your default. Once I add a new state, so again, remember, states in a scenario are just like states in a theme. They're just different phases that you're going through. So one thing I usually like to do is, actually, I'll talk about these kind of buttons up here first. So once I start to create this scenario, I always love to save it. And the key with SimDesigner is save frequently. You don't know, it doesn't have that auto save feature. I do have a little email sent in to see if there's ever could be like a 15-minute auto save for us, because we never know when we're going to get pulled away from our desk. We come back, the computer restarted, and we're like, So we don't want that to happen. So save frequently. Sometimes if I'm working on a very complex scenario that I see there's going to be, there's a couple hours into programming, I sometimes will even set a 30-minute timer on my phone to say save, to keep that. I can tell you right now, one of the most frustrating things as a sim designer building a scenario is having to build it all over again. When you've put all that time, effort, and the mastery of what you're doing, and then having to do it all again, it takes some of the wind out of your sails. So let's not do that. But here you can see the difference in the scenario. See the extension file now? This is an SCX. So that's only going to be able to be opened by LEAP. This will not be transferable over to your SimPad. So just keep that in mind as well. So I'm going to save that nursing and simulator. Sure, it's going to auto save it there for me. Perfect. So I'm going to hit save. There we go. Now, so we're going to start to build on it. Here we have events library. We're not going to get into that in basics, not that much. Handlers, we're definitely not going to get into handlers and basics. There is some nice YouTube videos out there about handlers. If you're ever interested, when I drop by, or we can do another session on just handlers alone, as they can get kind of, they are very useful. People that use handlers run simulations primarily with handlers. But if you're just trying to get into the basics, not something that we want to play with. Trends, we might want to play with that a little tiny bit. We'll see how time goes here as we're coming up to the 1 hour mark. And then the sound presets and edit your monitor layout. So let's just get into this, because I know that time is very valuable and I appreciate everybody coming in. So from the initial state, I can go to this state. So just like the SimPad, we're going from a state to another state to another state. When you go from, so click on here, drag over to new box. If you ever want to delete this line, this took me a while, because you can't click here. You click here and it will delete it. So it's a very small X that comes up right here. The other faster way to do it, believe it or not, is just take the arrow, drop it off and drop it into the gray. It removes that line for you. So I can go here and I can have a correct treatment or related events. So I can add a new event. And these will be automatically like kind of waiting for you. So I can have start. So once you start to put typing into the bar, it will give you some of the autos. It will also give you some of the ones that you've already created. More than likely, if this is your first time to scenario designing, you're going to have to create some buttons. So we'll hit browse. And then down here, you have some new buttons, some new events, some new triggers, also I like to call them. So the event name might be start scenario. You don't have to be in caps, but it's emphasized. Here we go. Start scenario. And I call these scenario shifters, because what they do is they shift your scenario from one place to another. So I'll call that my default category, and I'll hit OK. So what that's going to do is going to build a category, and it's going to be called start scenario, and I hit OK. So now it puts it right here for me. And you can see it's in their custom box. But if I take that start scenario and drop it right here inside my events category on my LEAP, once I hit start scenario, it will go to this state right here. So it will start here, then go here once I hit start scenario. Once I hit start scenario, I can put all my vitals into here. So I might want to have the heart rate. Remember, it was like 112. Good. And the ECG, that was a sinus in the beginning. Respiration rate was like 34. Blood pressure was mediocre, 100 on 80. Let's bring that down a bit. 65, let's say for the NIBP. And the SpO2 was 84. So once I hit start scenario, these are the vitals they're going to get. Now, inside SimDesigner, it gets a little bit more complex because you're going to have more options. So for additional symptoms, if you want to have a lung sound, it's called lung sound preset. Half the trouble with SimDesigner is because you need time to master SimDesigner, because you got to know how the computer talks. So it's almost like coding. If I put in lung sound preset, I then, so this is left lung preset. I can have that as crackles. I can click more now that I want to change my right lung preset, and I can have that as crackles. So it's learning the words that lung preset. Coarse crackles. Look at that. Huh. You have fine crackles, coarse crackles. The left, the right is not allowing me to put fine. We're going to write that down actually, because I was wondering why that would be like that. All right. All right. So again, if you wanted to make, let's say you want to make her eyes half open, so that would be eyelid status, and we want that to be half open. So again, it's knowing what your simulator can do and what you want it to show like on the simulator, and what you want your end objective, and what's going to be the clinical findings that you're going to get to that objective. So we can have that. The other thing that we can do down here is, this is hidden down here a little tiny bit, but this is transition time to this state. So I can have it over 2 minutes, so that what happens is that once I hit start scenario, or start, yeah, this would be start scenario, I can have those original vitals that were coming up right here transfer over to these vitals, and it will take 2 minutes to get there. We can change the curve of that to an S curve, or linear is your most basic for here. So there we go. So we got that. Again, as we program and as we get better and as we get more, we'll get into different types of way you can set up your scenario into a hub technique, a ladder technique, and I'd love to do some more on that later, depending on how good this session goes and some of the feedback that we get. So again, we're open to feedback and how we can make this better. But from here now, I want to be able to go to either this box. Let's say this box is patient deteriorates, right? And then this one will be patient improve. I might as well not even spell everything completely, right? There we go. Patient improve. All right. So now what we can do is we then can draw 2 boxes, 1 to each of these. And then we'll have to make some new events. So we'll call this, this is going to be new. So patient improvement. And again, I'm going to call this scenario shifters, because we're just shifting the scenario. We're not calling this a drug. Patient improvement goes over here. And then we want to add another one. So again, I'm just hitting browse. Down on the bottom left, new event, and this is patient deterioration scenario shifter. So all I'm doing here is building buttons that's going to go inside of my leap. Patient deterioration right here. Okay, so then we just change the vitals inside of each of these. Now I know one of my colleagues in Nova Scotia asked how we can also build in something. So he wanted to do a scenario, but he didn't have a mannequin that had reactive eyes. So I just want to kind of throw this in there because I wanted to get this on recording. So if I wanted to, let's say the mannequin to do reactive eyes, if we don't have a mannequin that does that, we can actually build another state, just put it off here to the side. And depending on where we think that they're going to do the reactive eyes, let's say they're going to do it in the initial assessment, which would be this guy right here. So this would be initial assessment. All right, so that's my initial assessment. So I wanted to, this will be just a box where I can put in check Pearl, P-E-A-R-L. Pupils are equal and reactive to light and accommodation. Or there we go. Something. Protect Perla. So let's just say they're examining the eyes. Now, if you have a mannequin that's already doing that, that's going to be easy peasy. You just set your eyelid status to whatever you want it to be. But let's say this is you're operating on a sim mom and she doesn't have reactive eyes. So we can actually put in an event and we can call it examine eyes. Because Nursing and Simulator doesn't have it, this won't be an auto feature. If your mannequin can do it, i.e. SimMan 3G or SimMan Essential, examine eyes will come up with an auto. And so this will automatically happen. But here what we're going to do is we're going to make a line going up to here. And we're going to put in examine eyes. So what we want to happen is, because the mannequin doesn't have reactive eyes, what we can actually do in the software is we can actually non-medical responses, we can type in the word launch and we can launch a media file. And then under your media file, let's see, oh, there we go. I can just put up my pupil reflex video that you can download. This one comes standard with Laerdal. And then you can actually get different ones. From Google or wherever you get your videos from. Make sure that you have copyright, or if you're going to be broadcasting, but I'm gonna use this one. This one is just normal pupil response. So what that's going to do is I typed in here launch media file, and it'll actually pop this up on the patient monitor for the student. So I know it's a little bit of a distractor from real life, but at the same time, you're capturing the learning skill of examining eyes on a mannequin that can't do it. So utilizing some additional technology, techniques sometimes helps. So there it goes. It goes up here, examines the eyes, it plays that video for them, but then you're stuck up here. So if you go up here and they check the eyes, the video plays, and then you hit patient deteriorates, it won't get there. See that? So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll just loop it back to this kind of hub so that once I hit patient deteriorates, then I go down this pathway. If I go down to patient improvement, it goes down this pathway. And if they check the eyes, it will just check the eyes and then it will bring it back into the scenario. So it will say drop event here. This is where I use a time event a lot of the time. And this is a little bit off the basics, but this is something that I find is essential to know how to do. So I want to go time in state. Click on that. So that's adding this to these this event log here. So special events, time and state. I want to take that and I want to drop that right there as well. Let me take it and drop it in there. Then it's going to say, well, how long do you want it to stay in state? It doesn't really matter because it's going to play that video and then it can come right back to where you want it to be. So I might just say 2 seconds. It doesn't really matter. I can make it for the length of the video too if I wanted to, make it for 10 seconds. So what's going to happen, you're going to click on examine eyes. It's going to play the video for them. Then it's going to drop back to this initial assessment again, where then you get to decide, okay, is the patient going to deteriorate? Is the patient going to improve? Or maybe the patient deteriorates and then they apply oxygen. So then they can now go over to patient improve. So we can tie all these together via some of these lines. So for example, actually, even better, you can still use that same button you've already got right here with the patient improve. So you can just drop that there. So that if the patient deteriorates and then you determine that the patient should improve, you'll still get to this end goal right here. And then maybe in the end goal, this is another little cool thing that you can put in, is that you can put in, add an instructor message that once they get to here, once here, end scenario, go to debrief. And then what I like to do here is say, you know, what do you think was the learning objectives for this session? You can have some of your debrief questions here so that once you get to this patient improve, it will automatically drop this into your debrief session log, so that the first thing you do when you go into your debrief, you have a list of questions already on your SimPad or on your Leap computer ready to go. And that's how you would do that.
Perfect.
This is a lot of stuff. This is a lot of stuff. I know.
And we do have some questions, Shane. I just didn't want to interrupt because you were on a roll there. But I think this was really good. I love the eye examination without actually having a mannequin that can do that is really, really cool. But
and just blow your, like, you can blow that to the extent of what you want. So let's say you wanted to put in lab values. You wanted to throw up x-rays. So let's just go back to that again. So think about if I wanted to create an x-ray. Let's say I have some advanced learners, or I got some physicians, or I got some radiologists, or just anybody that would be interested. The same thing you can do here is you can launch a radiology file. And when we go into our radiology, Laerdal already has a big list of not only adults, but you have child and infant x-rays already there. So if you wanted to go into adult and we wanted to go into pneumo, let's go into pneumonia. And so here's a pneumonia bilateral diffuse. And there's a whole bunch of pictures there already for your use that you can then display up on the patient monitor. So lab files, so you'll have to, with a lab file, make up a nice little letterhead saying, you know, I don't know, Halloween hospital. I don't know if it's themed related here. But, and you can actually then put up like ABG values, CBC values, lights, and whatever information that you want to put up on there, so that it automatically populates onto the patient scenario for you, or patient monitor for you.
Perfect.
Great.
Awesome. So did you want to hear those questions, Shane?
All right, yeah, I'll stop.
Perfect. So our first question from the Halifax team is, let's say I'm running a session and I hit start scenario button by accident. Is there a way to undo that or go back?
What that's going to do is when you hit start scenario, it's going to start that timer. So you might just have to restart the scenario, especially if you want 0, 0 to be the point of the learner's interaction with the patient. If not, sometimes on a piece of paper, if I'm already running the scenario, because you know they walk into the room, but then they want to have a pre-huddle before they jump into the patient, is that sometimes on a piece of paper, I'll actually hit, I'll just put in the time of the start. But actually, even one better thing that I do is down on our Leap software, you have this bookmark button. So you can actually hit bookmark. So you can actually bookmark, and what it does is it puts a bookmark at 0.15, and then I just know that that was actually start a scenario. I use this bookmark button all the time because I don't have time to type everything in. I find that I want to focus on learner, and I'm having my scenario doing most of my stuff. I want to bookmark things, and so then when I go back to do my audio visual debrief, I just have to hit the bookmark. It will take me to that part of the video, and I can just play 10 seconds of it and say, hey, what do you guys think of this at this moment? What was good things to take away? What was some of the learning? What was some of the learning that was done here? What was the justification? So I like presenting it that way, as more as an inquisitive approach rather than a direct hammer comes down.
Awesome. And let us know if that answers your question or not. We can always go further in the open forum, but there are a few more questions, Shane. So those buttons that you created, or those prompts, interventions, if we can go back to the SimDesigner page. So for example, you created patient improvement, patient deterioration. So are those saved once they're created, or do you have to create them every time? Okay. So that
Yeah,
was our,
so that's the cool part. If you're new and this is the first time, or let's say you just installed SimDesigner on your home PC, because that's what we like to do because we're sim nerds sometimes. You get this great idea of how to build a scenario. You want to build it at home, but remember, wherever you're building these events, they're going to be on that local computer. They're not saved over a cloud or anything like that. So they're going to be on the local computer, unless you use some kind of shared folder inside of your organization. And that is something, if you have shared folders and you want to kind of find out how to kind of save them over, I'd be happy to help. But it's also cool here is that when you double click on this list of events, you can see how they are going to be displayed out in your event window when you go into your actual Leap software. So for example, this is under Examine Eyes. So that's good. And then we can take this scenario shifter. Where's the scenario shifter ones? Patient improvement. There they are right here. You can see under scenario shifters, I can take this time and state and I can put it up here with the scenario shifters. Scenario shifter. Why isn't it? These is because these are related to special events. That's why. Okay, never mind. But let's say if I just wanted to examine eyes underneath the scenario shifter as well, I can bring it up. I can then change the icon here just like I could on SimPad. So this is the way that it would look when you get over to the Leap software. Anyway, scenario shifters. Now they'll be look like that. But you can actually edit it so that you can have everything under one category, or you can, let's say you don't like it, it's in a circulation category and you want to bring it into a respiratory category, you can do that as well so that you don't have so many buttons to click through with your mouse. Mm-hmm. So you can also imagine if we wanted to, let's say, patient deterioration, if we didn't want to put patient improvement, let's say our learning focus was on application of supine, so proning positioning of an intubation patient. So you can actually build a button for that and put that here instead. Or you can have it as a medication. So let's just say the patient, let's say they don't, what am I trying to say? I can have it directly medication related. So if I wanted to throw in, let's say they throw in some salbutamol, I can have it medication driven as well. So I can actually throw my salbutamol in here and then put in my results of what happens to the salbutamol. But remember that if you're doing a medication, this arrow is only going to this box. You're going to have to get out of this box again if you want the patient to continue with improvement. So you might have to draw a line here or draw a line back to this state. So let's say they get here, they use salbutamol, then you need them to get back. So again, you can use your time and state and drop that back so that you can get back over here. It's very linear. This is a very linear process. So you can only give the patient salbutamol here. Now, if you want to learn more about how to get so that you can do salbutamol here, 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 you can create that. I'm sure you can, we have some brilliant people here on the line. I'm sure they can figure that out. Or that's also when we start to use handlers. And so that I will leave for a little tidbit to kind of make inquisitive minds.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. And before we go into the Client's Corner, Shane, there are 2 more questions that I figured we'd answer here since we have the screen up. So this is from Zahar, who's asking, as a very basic question, what is the difference of creating scenarios versus creating themes? Currently, we are only creating themes, which is working quite well for us.
Okay, so this would be the way that you create a scenario. So you can see how it's box driven, state to state to state, and you move around. If we wanted to, I'm gonna save this, save as. Actually, I already saved this, so I can actually just hit save. Yes, yes, always in the affirmative. Mm-hmm. No, that was just relating to the different levels of versions of Leap, and just making sure that your mannequin is up to date with the latest greatest, because if you're using 7.1 SimDesigner and your leap is 6.8 on your PC that you're going to be actually simulating with, you're going to have to update everything to wherever the SimDesigner level is, just in case there's an added feature or a different way that we're doing something with SimDesigner. So if we wanted to go new, oh, this is a new scenario. So I'm actually going to close this out. And I'm going to go back into my Leap software. I'm going to open up SimDesigner again. I'm going to pause that back there. SimDesigner. So here we go, create theme.
Mm-hmm.
So with the create theme, we can call this COVID Airway 2. Let's say we're creating a theme for a, let's just say we're doing it for a nursing and simulator again. They are talking about doing it this way. And with this way, it's almost the same way as SimDesigner in regards to there is your new states. And then how do you get through each state is done through here. So correct treatment would be, let's keep on going off, here we go. Head tilt, chin lift. Oh, not the head. Head tilt, chin lift. So they do a head tilt, chin lift. That's my sim pad just coming back on here again. Sorry about that, folks. And then, so this would be, we put in the name of the description here. This would be COVID airway. Well, you know what? This is exactly what we were doing earlier. But the thing is here, as we build it this way, you can see that it's very much theme related that then can be transposed directly over to the sim pad. You can see that this will now save as a THX, so that this will now play inside your leap in your theme box that was up here on the top, right up here. Does that answer the question? I just found that we were just about to go through how to build a theme all over again.
Yeah, I guess it was just like, what's the main difference? And if they're using themes and it's working well, then maybe what's the draw to go to SimDesigner? But
the draw to go to SimDesigner is where we have more ability to put in individual medications and have more flexibility with how it all works. So I'm going to call this one the hub method. So for example, I could have this and then have this go down to here and put this one here, put this one here. This is the kind of the way that I like with SimDesigner rather than themes, is that I can build this matrix of simulation where I have, oh, sorry, I have a hub. So that would be this guy right here, or I even call it the hub, just to give it some authority. And then I can have a bunch of different things that come on and off of this hub. And what that is allowing me to do is stay in one state, but yet being able to do everything off of this one state. So that's one advantage. The other advantage is handlers and using a lot of trend editors. So I can also create a trend, which means I'm going to control various amounts of variables. So I can change heart rate, respiration, SpO2, and blood pressure. So this is where I can do this, is start to have, I want this trend to be 3 minutes long, and over 2 minutes, I want the heart rate to go up by 28 points. I want the respiration rate to go up by a value of 10. I want the SpO2 to go down, value of 11, and then blood pressure, I can have that go up or down. Or when you click on blood pressure, you also have the ability to uncouple them and change your systolic pressure different than your diastolic pressure. Really good for those people that want to create a widening or a narrowing blood pressure, or widening and narrowing pulse pressure.
Mhm.
So that'd be good for those kind of situations where you can change that. And so that now in this trend, now in this trend, I can have this trend kind of just lying here. So I can add my trend. I should have saved it, but let's see if I have any more here. So let's say it's a nitroglycerin mild trend. So I can just put that. So let's say this is a spray of nitro. And so that trend will start. So therefore what I can do is that in my correct treatment, I can put in my nitroglycerin. I can drop that there. They give a spray of nitro, and then after time in state, again, I'm just showing this one again, and then it goes back here. Let's grab it and drop it into that box. Time and state, 2 seconds, good. So this would be a good example of patient approach. On assessment, they go right to the hub. So the one thing I'd want to make sure is that whatever these vitals are, is the vitals you want the assessment to be. Once they go to the hub, the vitals stay that way unless they give them a nitroglycerin spray, which starts that nitroglycerin mild trend that changes the variables whatever way you want, and then it comes back to the hub waiting for the next thing that they're going to give. Maybe they're going to give over here, they're going to give morphine. So I'm going to give morphine. So then they go down the morphine path and then changes the vitals in this certain way. Remember that you can always delay or cause a transition time down here. And then you can just have it come back to the hub again after 2 seconds. Because once it goes over here and grabs that trend, it's going to play that trend in the hub. You don't have to have it sitting in the state, because what happens if, you know, they're giving nitro spray and then, this would be a bad example, and then give a morphine at the same time, which wouldn't happen, but you could do multiple pushes as long as you're back in the hub, and it will change the trends as per your trend. That's a great question. I'm hoping that I was able to capture some of the advances or the more things you can do inside of the SimDesigner. But if you find themes are working, I'd say, hey, you could probably show me some more things about themes.
Perfect.
Oh, and Jeff actually mentioned another thing, that in Theme Designer, you can't have a trend of CVP or ICP. So if those part of your critical care objectives, SimDesigner is definitely more where you want to be. And the other thing is that you're able to get the radiology files, the media files. You're able to launch that with Leap. Within the SimPad, you can't do that.
Perfect.
Great questions.
And we're coming up on the final minute here, but I think we'll leave this page up just because there is another question for us here. And then if you have any questions or you'd rather unmute yourself to ask us, let us know. But Shane, while I have it here, it's a follow-up question to that whole, if I start the scenario, can I go back? So this is, if I'm deep in the middle of a scenario and I need to go back one state, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where your designing will really shine, is your ability to correct. So you got to remember, when you're building SimDesign in SimDesigner, when you're building this scenario, you're always going to have the ability to manually manipulate. So we build this so that, yes, if the students go down this pathway, this is what they'll see. But what happens to that left of center? What happens to that person that just, oh, let's needle decompress them? What do you want to happen? So that's always having a way to go back. So sometimes what I do hear a lot of people do, and this is where it's very important to name these, because up in your, when you're actually simulating, it will come up here, the state that you're in. Did I save that file? I'm just wondering here. No, the original one. I totally saved that, didn't I? I saved that.
The SimDesigner one?
I do believe so. So let's file, start new session. So with this case, we're going to have to go to automatic mode, and then I'm going to browse and see if I can find out where I put it. Did I call it COVID safe passage? No, that's the THM.
Yeah, I don't know if you saved the SimDesigner one. Oh, maybe you did at first, but
Yeah, I did at first,
yeah.
and then where did I think it saved it under nursing and simulator.
Or was it COVID Airway 2? Or no, that was the
That was the theme.
Mhm.
But that's okay. I'll continue to look. What was the, did we answer that question?
Oh, it was you were essentially saying that yes, if that showcases your designer skills if you're in the middle of a scenario and need to go back a state and then you
Right. So it's just kind of like always making sure you have scenario shifters that bring you back to where you want to be. And that's really key and fundamental. The other really nice thing that you can do with this page is you can also hit print. So that you can have a paper copy right beside you that shows you, okay, if I follow this arrow to get back to here, I have to hit this button. And that's really a really good way. That's why I like the hub, is because of the fact that I'm always going to be in the hub so that I can always go one way or another. And I'll know that with that 2-second return to the hub, I'll always end up back where I want to be until I'm ready to go to the, end scenario. So that would be this one right here. And then I can also type in again those instructor messages down here so that they automatically default into the debriefer.
And while you're doing that, Shane, I just wanted to thank everyone that was here today. I know some people are leaving just because obviously there's other things to do, but we thank you all for being here, and we're going to stay on just for any other questions or any tips and tricks that you want to share with us. Again, if you have suggestions for what you want to see next, let us know. But thank you again for coming, and we will be sharing the recording, so if you have to hop off, not a problem. You'll get this in your inbox either tomorrow or hopefully sometime soon. We post them to YouTube, so we have our other episodes there as well.
Excellent.